Hey there, I'm Stevie Morrison.
And I'm Lisa Darmanin, and this is the Season 5 preview show. How you been, Stevie? We're in real life.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm not on the water somewhere, and I'm here in England.
No, it's far out, isn't it? And it's quite nice you made it over here. I'm intrigued to know which passport you've come in on, given that you're a lady of the world. But, I saw you in Marseille at the Olympics. That was nice. Saw you in Barcelona. And, now we're back to SailGP mode, eh?
Yeah, it's been a busy off-season, but it's good to be back talking about fast boats falling around. And, I mean, so much has been going on. This is the biggest period we've had between seasons. We've heard I've heard a lot of rumours. I'm not sure about you, but all the transfers are going on with the athletes. The rumours are going around with the teams. I'm sure you've got a bit of intel as well.
Yeah, there does seem to be a lot of rumours flying around. I mean, there's new teams coming, aren't there? And new teams need sailors. And so I think some of the big teams have probably had a few challenges. But I kind of feel like, you're better at the gossip than me.
I mean, I love the gossip, but I feel like you got the intel. So, we make a good team.
We'll get there. Anyway, we're going to find out some good rumours here. We're going to have a little look back at, the end of last season. We'll think about what's coming Season 5. We're going to look at Australia. No, we're going to look at Spain, Australia, New Zealand and Great Britain here, aren't we? Kind of see them as the main top teams. Who we think might win out of them this season.
So this Season 5 preview show, we're going to break it into 3 parts. We've got the Contenders, which you've just touched on. We've got the Wild Cards, which is that mid-fleet. And then the Time Will Tell, which is those new teams, all those transfers to see who will actually be able to bring it in Season 5. Before we dive into the top 4 teams from last season, let's talk about the athlete transfers and all the rumours we've heard. We've touched on a little bit, but we can start with probably the newest team into the league, the Brazil team. They obviously have a really big backer. They've got their first female driver, this league's first female driver in Martine Grail, which I'm really excited about. I think it's pretty cool to see her leading the team. I know, she's a massive name in Brazil, but really interested to see the team that she's bringing in around her.
Well, we've seen plenty of rumours on that on the Instagram already, haven't we? Facts. Maybe
facts,
even give Instagram is fact, is that right?
100%.
Okay, fair enough. Instagram is fact. So we've got some facts from there. The one that caught my eye, Andy Maloney, flight
That's
controller.
massive.
I mean, I thought that was huge because New Zealand last year, they didn't win, but they were the sort of consistent team, standout. He's just won the America's Cup with New Zealand. I'm staggered they've let him go.
I mean, I think when I saw Andy's name come up, I was really surprised as well because we talk about, these solid teams in SailGP, and you always talk about the driver, but I really think it's that unity from front to back that makes a good team. So to see such a key position go, obviously there's money involved, but I don't know if Andy, what his drive was to leave the team, but I think it's a new challenge. I think sailing with a Brazil team would be really interesting, but then, representing your country is something different as well. So maybe it's just looking for something new, but massive hole in the Kiwi team there.
Big hole, but also let's talking about Brazil. I think what a great start for them. What a good signing. I think they've got Lee McMillan coming in as wing trimmer. So he was with France a little while ago. He was in the America's Cup with the British team as a trimmer there. And I'm intrigued because when Lee was on board, he's a brilliant sailor, but he was fiery when he was on that French boat. And I know Martine a little bit from the 49ers
She's pretty
FX
fiery
coach.
too.
Yeah. So, I think that'll be great. Potentially superb, because if those two flames can kind of get together and really light a fire together, that'll be awesome. But if they start sparking each other off, it'll be pretty interesting. But I think Martine's going to bring a real flair to it. When I've watched her FX sail in the Olympics, she won 2 golds. When you got a silver, so back in Rio, which is kind of a while ago now, isn't it?
Yeah, Rio. Old. But we're going back to Rio, which I'm pretty excited about too. We'll touch on that a little bit later.
Yeah. So she was awesome there, but she sails with a real flair. She's quite an instinctive sailor, and I think you need that in these boats. Fast boats, quick reactions needed. I think she'll be good. I think Lee, if Lee can get himself in the right place for it, he'll have the perfect level of experience and sort of maturity to bring to it. But he might have to keep it a little calm.
Down. Well, he'll have to leave space for her flair. But I agree with you. I think obviously we've seen a lot of in the Olympic world 49er sailors come into SailGP and do well. You've got Peter Burling, Nathan Atteridge. There's
me in the commentary box.
Yeah, Stevie Morrison, of course. Yeah. So that skiff high performance racing does translate well to this high performance fast decision making. Obviously, we're going a lot faster here at SailGP, but I think as a new driver, it's always going to be difficult putting experienced people around you that could take some of that pressure off, I think will be really good. Obviously, she's bringing in a strategist as well with Richard Mason. Was a grinder for a few other teams, so he's got experience racing. So if she can take the pressure off herself in terms of running the boat, all she has to do is drive, and I think they could do really well.
I think they could do great, and I mean Richard's a brilliant one. I think one trophy we should think about for this season is who's got the most different team kits. Because Nathan Outeridge must have been to a lot of teams as we go through it. And then talking of fire, then Martine's got her brother in the front as well. So I think Marco Grail's coming in as a grinder. So
I can't wait to hear the comms coming off the boat.
I think it could be epic. It could be one of the best listens, that's for sure. But Brazil, I think it's exciting. They made some good moves. I do think Andy Maloney's got to be one of the stories of the this whole transfer of athletes that's been going on. I think that's a big story for me, both for Brazil in a positive and a negative for New Zealand.
So on to New Zealand. Obviously, they've got a big gap to fill. Do they look at other teams, or do they look at someone that has left the league? I mean,
I got an idea.
You got an idea? Oh, you always got an idea.
Well, no. Keep my mouth shut. Yeah, no. Japan, of course, season 1 and 2 were there as a team, and in season 2 they brought in Leo Takahashi.
He's also a Kiwi.
Who is also a Kiwi. He came in for Japan as a flight controller. So I don't know. I'm not sure you necessarily need a magic hat to dive into and find out which rabbit you're going to pull out. I'd be
he also
staggered
just
if
did
it's
the
not
Youth
him.
America's Cup with
Emirates
Team New Zealand, so has been on flying boats since Japan left.
Yeah.
So a huge thing for them. Obviously they had that team is just so strong. So I'm really interested to see how that impacts the dynamic.
Would you put Liv in there?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. They have quite a few athletes that they can choose from, male and female. So, I mean, I think from a female athlete perspective, I'd love to see more teams putting women in key positions. She's obviously been on the boat. She knows how to fly boats and go fast as well. So that would be a really cool thing. I think that if they have training time in the lead up to Dubai, that would be a really, really good move. And then they've got lots of other strong, like, Jo Alley was a strategist last year. She went and did the Olympics, so she took a step back. She's a great strategist, has a good head on her, was also doing the Women's America's Cup with Liv. So, they've got lots of talent in New Zealand. We know that. So they've got lots to choose from. It just depends, I think, how rushed they are to keep momentum.
Big one though, isn't it? It was a big set of boots to fill that. I think Liv would be a good shout, to be perfectly honest.
I think so. I think it'd be really.
And they're going to come in confident, aren't they? I mean, they didn't end up winning last year, but Pete and Blair, that whole team, they're just serial winners. So I think whoever goes in's probably going to have a bit of pressure, but they're going to have a pretty solid team to come in around them.
Speaking of big gaps in teams, now I've got a good rumour for you. That is that the Australian team, they're losing a big name from their team to another.
Can't be a rumour, Lisa, if you're dishing it out. Come on.
I cannot confirm or deny, but big player missing, moving to another team within the league. So the Aussie team, obviously, they lost their first title this last season.
So have they moving or have they been sacked then? Is Tom just livid that he didn't win for once?
Well, I don't know, but I know that they're not going to be there next season. Well, someone's missing.
So it's not a rumour?
It is. We'll find out by the start of season 5, I promise you that. But I think that's, you see New Zealand and Australia, we talk about that team dynamic and how important it is, that synchronicity from all the key members of the team. And I think that would be a big blow. But I mean, this whole athlete transfer, it's exciting for us. It's probably exciting for everyone at home watching what's going on and how it's going to play out. But I do think it'll be really interesting to see how that impacts a team. Do they go with young talent from their home country, like you were just talking about with New Zealand, or putting female athletes in more prominent positions? Or do they look at other teams and try poach, or do they look outside the field of SailGP? I think that's time will tell.
Well, it's interesting because I actually got to work a bit with Tash Bryant at the end of this summer, and she's a big character, and she's definitely got what it takes to sort of step into any one of those 3 roles. I mean, I'm presuming it's not Slingsby that's off. That would be a story, but I don't think it is. Tash was to come in and do those, I'm sure she could, but she really talked about how they're this real team of brothers. With a little sister.
And a little sister, yeah.
And I think that it will be interesting to see how that goes for them because that's obviously done them proud, hasn't it? 3 titles in a row, but then they did lose.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is when you've had a successful team for so long, I mean, obviously they didn't have as much success this season. They definitely were right in the mix. They could have won that final as well. I think also the opportunity to bring in someone new, it might change the dynamic a little bit, but you never know which way it could go. It could actually change the dynamic in a positive way that maybe, I don't know.
What do you think Tom needs then?
I think with Tom, obviously he wears his heart on his sleeve. You see how much everything means to him, on the opposite of Peter Burling, where you're like, not quite sure what he's thinking the whole time. So I think with Tom, obviously, him bringing in his coach Ben Durham was really good to manage that sort of like up and down and even him out. But I think having someone on the water where you've got that interaction which can potentially settle Tom in a positive way. I think sometimes you can say something to Tom and it will fire him up in a really good way, or it's going to fire him up in a negative way. And I think he needs that fire to succeed, and that's why he's been so successful. But finding someone to step in when necessary in key moments could be, a really golden nugget for them.
Yeah, talking of golden nuggets, I just noticed the trophy. How sick's that? That's probably the closest I'm going to get to it.
Don't touch it. You need to have the gloves on.
Really? Sorry. Sorry.
We'll polish that out later.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Talking of polish, so Australia, big change. Big change that I know because Instagram is fact. Yeah? Correct. Yeah.
100% fact.
Yeah, I need to be refreshed on that. Giles Scott's off.
Giles Scott to Canada.
How about that? They just seem to have got going, Emirates GBR.
I know. I don't know if I feel... I don't know how it all played out. I don't know if he chose to leave or Canada poached him or whatever it was. But heard he has a Canadian passport.
And also much like you, he's got loads of passports.
He's a man of the world.
Yeah, he's a man of the world. So he has a Canadian passport. So he did actually spend a bit of time growing up there when he was younger. And yeah, but that's the big move. Because, Phil...
I know, what a character. Phil it's sad. We love Phil.
Phil is the commentator's dream, isn't he?
He's
shoots
very
from the hip.
Absolutely
full on. Yeah, great sailor. Yeah.
And he's done so well with that Canadian team. I think. It's sad because he really embraced that nationality as well. Might not have the passport, but when we're in
He's got a lot of the lumberjack shirts.
Yeah,
so that is
when
handy.
we're in Halifax, the way that the Canadian people embrace him, he was just like, except the accent, you wouldn't know he wasn't Canadian. Like it was really, really cool. So we'll definitely miss him, but interesting to see what he ends up doing next. There's a few gaps to fill, but Giles obviously did well with the British team. Got them a few wins on the board as well in Canada. So maybe that's where the deal was done. Who knows?
Well, yeah, good point. Yeah.
But then, obviously, Canada taking him, but then the gap of the driver. Who are we going to see? There's a couple of names.
Hannah Mills.
Hannah Mills would be...
Maybe. Second female driver.
It would be
and
pretty
again,
epic.
I was working with her just for the last few weeks out in Barcelona, and she's got the punch to get it done. That is for sure.
And
Dylan Fletcher.
Dylan Fletcher has been sailing with SailGP in the past with the British team, so be an amazing return for him. Also won a gold medal since then.
Stevie Morrison.
I don't know, Steve, are you part of the room, Will, too?
Well, I don't know. I'm really hoping this podcast goes out before they sign the deal, personally. So
Have you sent your resume to Ben Ainsley?
Not directly.
But Ben Ainsley. Ben Ainsley. You're up against a few there.
There's a few. A few worthy rivals. Yeah. But no, Ben, potentially. He's just he said he'd stepped away to put his focus into the America's Cup. He's sort of finished that campaign now, and it's unfinished business. I'm still a bit drawn by that because it's quite a cool trophy. I've never actually seen it in real life. Yeah. But he, I think could Ben come back?
He's such... you know him better than I do, but he's such a fierce competitor. Watching him at the Cup was incredible, obviously making history there, being back after many, many years. And then I think not having had a chance to win this one as well, where there's so many great sailors competing, I think it'd be hard for him to sit on the couch and watch. What do you reckon?
I think it'd be hard to watch. But then Dylan's done it, like you say, there's a lot of options. I'd love to see Hannah. I don't see any of them, really. Yeah. All three of them would bring something different, something a bit unique. I don't know. I don't know with that. In some ways, I'd like to see Ben come back. And if I'm being a little bit patriotic, which I know you are, it wouldn't be too bad to see the British actually get it done.
So there's a lot of events this season. There's 14 events. It's a lot of commitment as well for someone like Ben that's got a family, and Dylan's got a family, Hannah's got a family as well. Is there
my family are all grown up, so maybe I've got a little bit more time to just saying, just a
this
thought.
Is not a pitch for you to be here. This is a podcast for the people.
This is 100% a pitch.
But is there ever a world where we see people subbing in and out, or is that just too hard in this sort of environment?
I think that'd be a mistake.
I
Personally,
agree. I think you need consistency in this game, but you never know. I think having a really good B roster would be quite a good thing to have. Not maybe all the time, but if you needed to, you could sub in quite well without having to use Nathan Atteridge, the only sub that we've had so far.
The super sub.
Yeah, the
as
super
he is.
Sub.
Yeah.
So much to come this season. I cannot wait to see how it all plays out. But there's lots going on. We've got all these athlete transfers. We've also got the 2 new teams coming in. We've got Brazil and Jimmy Spithill's Italian team, which really interested to see how that plays out. And then other thing is new tech. We've got the new T-foils coming in for the Auckland event in January, which will change the game as well. We've got the flight controllers will have a different tool to play with, and the teams as well will have to figure that out on the fly. So much to happen. 14 events as well.
14 events, man. I mean, that is some level of unscripted drama flying around out there on the water for me to chat about, hey?
It's going to be incredible. Some really cool key new venues as well, which I'm really looking forward to. So much to come. But I think we should talk about the top 4. Who do we think is going to win this season?
Well, we thought that Australia were unstoppable, didn't we? And they weren't. They got changed up. New Zealand were kind of the form team last year. They did well. Spain showed up on the circuit, showed us they could get it done in the light winds. And then we got to San Francisco, and wow, what a final that was.
It was incredible. I think that whole weekend obviously was so focused on the France v Spain, who's going to get in, and then all of a sudden the Spanish went from not making it to taking it all. So, it's just unmatched drama last season. What are we going to see this season? I can't wait.
Well, we should start with Spain, shouldn't we? I mean, they won a couple of events, and then they took it all, didn't they? They won the $2 million. They won that trophy. I'm still a bit obsessed with that trophy. But they got the job done. They won. But now, of course, well, then they
went and won a gold medal at the Olympic Games. And I mean, we were both there. I think, watching them win in San Francisco was incredible because they had this dogfight just to make it to the final. And then, the big 2, New Zealand and Australia, were kind of had their eyes locked, and they went and they held on to the pressure, and they took that win. And then, even their Olympics was not an easy one as well. No. That final race for them, they had to do it a couple of times to seize that gold medal. And I mean, Russell has always said that he had his eyes on Diego as someone that could be incredible. And I think Diego's really shown that he's got such a calm nature, but he's definitely got that champion instinct in him. And I mean, we've spoken about all the transfers, but that team is not going to change. I mean, there'll be a few a little bit with the grinder team, but as a whole, it's a pretty solid unit that will continue. So I think that will play into their hands a little bit. I think obviously they were the light wind specialists. Maybe we had a really light season 4, but they held their own in the breeze, and they're getting better and better. So I think they'll definitely be up there again this year, and they're not really afraid of the big names anymore.
But now the big names know about them, and they've got a target on their back. So do you think does that gain you respect on the start line? Or does that make you someone that's marked, that people want to show you that, they're in your face and they are, they're not going to get those bits of space? I mean, last year, if you want to know, why did they win the final? As you alluded to, they had the space. Australia and New Zealand were locked together. They were on their own. We were all talking about, it's going to be Australia or New Zealand and blah, 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 blah. But Spain got it done. Now, there's no hiding place for them, is there?
Yeah, I think in sailing, you can, obviously we're a fleet race. We're going to have 12 boats on the start line. If you can hurt someone, if you can give them that bad air from your wing, if you can put yourself in a strategic position to hurt them, you will. And so Spain definitely might not find as much space around the racetrack, but I think they've still got a pretty big learning curve, and they're still getting better and better. So I still expect really good things from Spain.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree at all. And, Diego and Florian have done a pretty blooming good job with that, and Nicole, that whole unit, as you say, staying the same. Stuart Dodson's leaving, because I saw again Instagram as fact. and I saw him on a Swiss.
Yeah, we
Instagram
didn't even touch
post.
on the Swiss team, but they've had a full reshuffle. Basically, everyone that was in San Francisco will no longer be on that boat. They've looked at the AC Alingi Red Bull team. They've brought some key players in there. Arno Sarafagos, who led Alingi. Seb's back from the Olympics, leading his team as a driver. They've got a new strategist in Morjayet, also an Olympian. So, big shake-up in that team, and poaching a SailGP champion grinder as well.
Yeah, and I've got a bit of an idea who I reckon will be coming in as the grinder for the Spanish team.
Can you tell us then?
Well, I don't know if it's official. I mean,
Okay.
I got
Is it
a friend of mine
SailGP?
from Exmouth called Ben Cornish, who's a grinder or a cyclor, and a genuine good guy. I know I had the Spanish coach come up to me. All of this happens at the bar, doesn't it? People are chatting and want your opinion on things like that.
So it's not on an Instagram, so it's not fact.
No, it's not fact. It's not on Instagram. Yeah, just to clarify, this is unsolicited rumour. But maybe a guy called Ben Cornish. Anyway, I think he might turn up. Good team guy. A bit much like Stuart, real strong, athletic guy, potentially coming in. Not sure how his Spanish is, but perhaps that's not a problem. I don't know. But I think that Spanish team, like you say, they're in the place. I think they're going to thrive. From seeing how they handled the Olympics, I think they could be the team this year over the season. I mean, I know winning it's a big deal, but I kind of, in my mind, the best team is the team that ends the season on the top, really.
Like we saw New Zealand last year and Australia the year before, But then, I mean, we look at the next two teams. We've got Australia, obviously, definitely a championship winning team. We could see their name on the trophy 3 times. They're there to win as well. Like, Tom Slingsby does not like coming second, I don't think. And I think that they'll continue to be there. I think it'll be really interesting to see who they bring in to replace the hole in their team. But I have no doubt that they'll be in finals over the season. What are your thoughts? I know you don't love Australia, but
that's unfair. My sister lives there,
Oh, just up the road from me, actually.
Yeah. So in many ways, it's kind of nice to get rid of her. No, what was I going to say? What do I think? I think Tom's had an interesting summer. He didn't have the best season 4, but got to the final, and in true Tom Slingsby style, he showed up and they nearly won. They caught the Spanish team as the race went on, and it was like, oh my word, they're surely not going to, get it done again. So he's got that fight. He's then gone and done the America's Cup. They had you've got to say, disappointing America's Cup, especially for Tom, the level he would set himself. And I really see him as a confident sailor. If he's on fire, he is the best guy in the world. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I agree with
that. But if he's a little bit kind of not quite feeling it, or not quite as, I'd imagine if you woke up as Tom Slingsby, you look in the mirror and go, mate, I win everything. Yeah. But I think sometimes he looks in the mirror and sees a certain level of doubt or uncertainty and all the rest of it, which is understandable. Most people have a bit of doubt, don't they?
Yeah.
And I think it depends what Tom Slingsby looks in the mirror when we get to that first race day. And I think massive is if, and as I look into your eyes, LD, I'm pretty confident that you do know who's left that Australian team, or you've heard rumours, but it's not been on Instagram, so we can't say it as fact. Yeah. I think whoever comes in to fill that is going to be massive, because that team was so tight and has been together so long. To lose someone from it is huge, and it could be a pivotal year for Australia. They're either going to come out firing or they're going to really struggle.
I agree with you. I think Tom definitely thrives off confidence. I also think that this year was a massive year for him, personally and professionally. He had a kid. He was doing the America's Cup. He was doing SailGP. He was trying to lead this team. Lots of other teams are trying to poach his team members, pre-season, during. Now they've done that. But I think it's a bit of an off-season for the Cup. I think he'll have a little bit more time. There's rumours that his team has got ownership, so that takes a lot of pressure off as well. And I think being able to hand over some of that responsibility and focus more on just one thing, I think will suit Tom. But I think having that new person come in, gel with a team, understand how Tom functions will also be critical. But I'm really excited. I think it's cool to see the changes. But yeah, they're not going away.
No, they're not going away. And New Zealand won't be going away either, will they? Let's be honest. New Zealand for me were the team of last season. They were the best team. Really.
And they had so many issues with that boat.
Yeah.
So, last season was where they missed half of Saint-Tropez because that wind collapse. They missed out on Taranto. I think when you look at what that team's been through in terms of just their vessel falling apart on them and then still performing event after event, and they didn't show up in San Francisco. What we saw there, it was like we weren't watching the same team. I don't really know what happened there, but I think even filling a hole, they've got so much talent to choose from. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, I'd put them as my top team, but for the fact that Andy Maloney's gone. And that's why I think if we're thinking about this season to come, that's why I just feel, I think you said it, I can't remember exactly how you said it, but that continuity and that, having the team structure and the consistency of the team is massive. And I think that's what gives Spain that edge over the teams we're talking about right now, is they keep that unit that's been there and delivered. Now, I think it gives opportunity, I'm going to coach mode now. I would be selling it as it gives opportunity for us to slightly change why didn't we win last year if we're New Zealand, and let's put it all on Andy Maloney and say it was his fault. and we're going to be way better now. Sorry, Andy. I'm sure it wasn't all your fault, mate, but, that's what we're going to go with. This is how we can make ourselves better. We're going to be able to adapt and change a little bit, an opportunity. But I think the reality is that consistency. You get so little time for training in these events, and they're going to come into it. They're going to have a few days training, and then they're going to be on the water in Dubai, and they're into racing straight away, and we're off.
There's not a lot of time to gel as a team, so it's got to be someone that fits in really well, knows their role really well. I think one other thing we're going to see within the fleet, obviously we have more boats on the race course. We're going to have 12 eventually. Yeah. But what has changed over the season is there's been less space on the race course. And what I mean by that is that because everyone's getting better, everyone's getting closer, you can't kind of get away with mistakes anymore. And I think that's where having a really cool head, having a really good team unit that can execute anything under, within meters of where you need to, I think will be really critical. And I think that's maybe where we saw the chink in Australia's armour last year, was they were used to being able to sail through the fleet because they've always had that little edge on everyone, whereas then they found themselves in the heat of battle having to get their elbows out, not everything always going well. And I don't think that all their mark roundings will be clean this year. I think it's going to be messy. There's going to be people pushing in, and you kind of have to just be like, okay, that happened, let's move on. We've got another 6 minutes to be able to try and win this race. So I think having that ability to reset, and the Kiwis are quite good with that. You don't hear much emotion from Peter Burling at all. He's so cool, calm and collected. He'll just keep moving through. So I think he's quite good at moving through a fleet. I think the Spanish, they've fought at the back and now they've fought at the front, and they're happy to be around boats. They're used to it. They can get around the tussles. And Diego's also very, nothing really phases him either.
No, that's right. And I think that being able to overtake boats, that is the key, and will be more of a key this year. And that's where the Kiwis were the best. But what I did hear was I heard big year for Craig Mitchell, chief umpire. So he might be
massive year.
He's got a massive year.
He had a pretty big year last year. I think everyone out there in the US got to know Craig Mitchell, and very interested in his opinion. And there were lots of disagreements with the umpires as well last year, which I think is as a league, we're growing. We spoke about technology, but also the rules. The rules are changing as we sort of see certain situations. They're having to adjust different things. There's new foils coming in as well. Who knows what that's going to do to the maneuverability of the boat? It's going to probably improve it. But it's going to change things having 12 boats on the start line and around the track.
It's going to make it real busy, isn't it? And I think this is just I know we were trying to plug Stevie Morrison for driver of Emirates SailGP team, weren't we? But what we're actually going to do is I'm now going to go, Ben, can you please come back? Please come back for a little bit, because I just need Ben Ainsley, Craig Mitchell. It's just the mashup we've lost.
So we need Ben Ainsley back. We need somebody to be able to get on that microphone and tell Craig what he really thinks.
Yes, exactly. So please, Ben, if you could just come back at least for a little bit, that would be great. But I think that's what we missed. And when we talk about the top teams, so close so often. Emirates, GBR, they didn't get to the final last year, but they were really close. They had that real peak in the middle of the season. And I think they've got to be in the conversation for season winners, but they're probably the fourth of those 4 teams.
Yeah, and I think, Great Britain, they've just been really on or off. They're either they're linking everything together. I think the more difficult the conditions are, and what I mean by that is puffy and shifty, erratic, where they can really use their tactical brains, they seem to excel. But when it's just a boat speed race, I don't see them as strong. So I think when we look at Halifax, it was insane, and they did quite well. And I think using that, like Hannah's brain, and really leaning on that strategist and letting the driver just drive. But whoever that driver is that comes in, whether it's Ben or Dylan or Hannah, I think it will be a really strong team. You look at the team in front of them, their experience from the Cup as well. All those guys have been racing at a high level all summer. So I think, I still think there's a few other contenders, but I'd be surprised not to see the British knocking on that top 3.
Yeah, I think they'll win events, and I think they of those 4. At least 2 of them, I'm way sat on the fence. 3 of those 4 will be in the final. There you go. That's your thing.
That's the call.
And I'm going to put Spain season leaders. I'm going to put New Zealand second, and I'm going to go Great Britain third. And this might be the first year that Australia don't make it. LD, the rage in your eyes there was almost
surprised.
worth the entrance fee alone. Surprised. Well, we need a bit of controversy, don't we? That's why, ultimately. I think Spain or New Zealand. I think they're 1 and 2 for the season. Australia and Great Britain, I think it will depend a little bit on where the forecasts go this year. Do we end up with a windy season or a lighter season as to where they fit in? Both those teams like the breeze. I think where Great Britain have done well is they've kept Ian Jensen, they've kept Parko, and an area that's always we don't do a good enough job of talking about it, but I think where the Swiss have made a great signing is Matt Gottrell and Stuart Dodson. So they've got some serious horsepower in the grinder positions. And Great Britain have always had that horsepower, and they've still got Neil Hunter. They've still got Nick Hutter. They've got a lot of horsepower in the front of the boat, and I think that's massive for Great Britain. They've kept that front 4. So whoever comes in, be it Ben, be it Hannah, be it Dylan, be it someone else.
Hey, I got a British passport too.
Who hasn't?
I don't disagree with you. I think just touching on that, the front of the boat, obviously that horsepower, I guess having that ability to put the boat wherever you want and be able to execute maneuvers, get top speed, move that wing in and out, especially in those really shifty conditions I was talking about. It just gives you options, I guess, is what you're kind of referring to. Also, if you've got some really strong people up the front, you can also use them as multi-tools. They can do other things. They can help with the tactics and strategy as well, and that team dynamics. Is that how you kind of see the front of the boat?
Yeah, fully. I mean, ultimately that big wing sail, yes, they can control the twist and the shape up the sail, so the fine tuning of it, they can control with buttons on the hydraulics. That's what the wing trimmer's doing. But he is pulling a rope, and that's being driven directly by the grinder. So if the boat's changing its heel angle or they need it to suddenly accelerate, you need a big pull, and that comes directly from the amount of wattage they can put into those handles. I'd love a watt meter on that grinding handle, because when they put the power down on a gusty day, there's an awful lot of power going straight into there to bring the wing in. So yeah, I think they bring a lot to it, because also if you've got a good grinder that's looking back at the wing and they can see the wing's a bit out and they're anticipating what's going to come next, rather than just someone that's got no idea about sailing and is there ready to do it and they react to it. Proactive, not reactive. Another top coaching for the day.
I mean, you've given your predictions. I think for me, I definitely see New Zealand up there, even with the whole. I think Australia will be up there too. And I mean, I love the Spanish. I think they'll win events, but I actually would put the British in the top 3 in this next season. But I mean, who knows? I actually would love a wild card. I'd love to see France in there. We'll touch on them next episode. I think they've got some amazing fight in them as well. But everyone's getting better and better, and even one or two of the new teams, I think they can mix it up as well. So there's so much that we don't know. We just talk and make things up and spread rumors. But I think we're just going to have to wait and see that first event in Dubai will be absolutely epic, and then we've got some pretty good events down in Auckland and Sydney to start us off for the season. So you know I love the events down under, and there's always a bit of breeze down there too, so we could see a little bit of both to kick off the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome, isn't it? I think it's just going to be so fun. I think 12 boats is going to make a difference. Starting again is going to be absolutely key. And yeah, lots more to talk about in the next few episodes. I mean, I'm buzzing already. It's a shame we have to sort of wrap this one up now, but thanks everyone for listening, and thanks everyone for joining us. Look forward to you coming onto the socials, follow us, hit subscribe, and give us your opinions. I mean, these are only our opinions. We've got zero fact to back it up with.
Yeah, we want to know who you think might win next season, who you think what rumours are true, what rumours we're just making up. And we will be back soon to talk about the wild cards, that mid-fleet of SailGP. So we'll be back more for the Season 5 preview show.